When they said senior year was going to be the year to remember, we don't think they meant it in this way. I mean, sure, who doesn't like a break from teachers rambling about internal assessments, being shoved around by sixth graders during break, or fighting hungry hippos in the lunch line? It was all supposed to be temporary, and we were supposed to go back on March 16th, continue panicking over exams and begging universities to take us, or so we thought. It's been over 2 months since school closed down and the IB exams have been canceled. Yeah, universities are still considering applications, but no one has mentioned anything about the final verdict, let alone the move-in date. Everyone is still at home, getting on their family members' last nerve, and summer 2020 is still not the move. One of the terrible things about a pandemic is its ability to wipe any and everything off the face of the earth, whether it's a job, an economy stability, or even people. However, a bit of pep talk went a long way, and we realized something. Despite our current tragic situation, we have had some good times in the years leading up to and during senior year. When the present is bad and the future is uncertain, a trip down memory road is always the best option. So feed your pets and grab a snack. Forget about the times ahead because we are going back. Now, we students already know that the class of 2020 is special in its own unique way. Apparently, some teachers saw that spark in us too and have decided to spill some tea in the most heartfelt, totally not sappiest way possible.
I suppose in all the years that I've been teaching, there are a few classes that stand out the most, and your particular class was one of them for me, because you were just all so happy and enthusiastic whenever you were walking into my room. I don't think I've laughed so much in teaching either A-level or the DP program as I did with you guys. So regardless about what sort of day I was having, how stressed I was with reports, I knew I could walk in and everything would be okay for an hour. You are definitely absolutely one of my favourite classes ever to teach. And I miss you so much. It's unbelievable. You see, I'm smiling when I'm talking about you.
I feel like there's a competitiveness within the class that's healthy and that's kind of coordinated to make everybody better.
We've got elastic deadlines, like day before an EE is due, it's suddenly uploaded. The same with CAS extended projects, lastminute.com. But I would say, in view of everything that's happened, resilience is really what sticks in mind.
Your grades seem to be high achieving and quite competitive with each other about your grades. The art class in particular, they're the ones that I know the best. To literally every person in that class, I just would happily adopt as my own children, and all of them very different from each other. I don't think all of them are great friends with each other, but they just kind of unite under trying not to buckle under the pressure that I put them through. In fact, they told me, "Oh, but Miss, we really hated you when you first started." And I thought, "Oh, thanks, that's really nice to hear." I think they got over that. And I really am very privileged to have enjoyed a wonderful relationship with that class.
In chemistry, this has been one of the most fun classes to teach, with a lot of variety of characters, and also quite a serious class with a lot of students working really hard. But also always there has been such a good, positive vibe.
Everyone shows respect, and every student cares about other students, and there is an atmosphere of, again, respect. And I never experienced a class where students feel so comfortable to be there.
You know, one of the things that I think sums up for me the 2 years for your class, we were out in the terrace. I think this was at the end of last year when I had to pass on the word to you all that the exams that used to be in June were in May. Kathleen, I still remember her saying something like, "Mister, why are we always the ones who are experimented on?" I said, "Look, I'm really sorry. It's just the way things are." If we look back, if the biggest experiment had been the moving of those 11th grade exams from June to mid-May, that would have been a little victory, perhaps even a major victory in comparison to what's happened.
I suppose my lasting memory is the well-attended Wednesday review sessions as we were preparing for the final exam. I realised it was the first class of the morning, but there was only no way that ever came. I also taught physics. We got got the telescopes out and looked to the stars. We did something we should never do. That's we ate in the science lab. But I promised I wouldn't tell anybody that we had a little takeaway meal in the science lab. I remember the keen attitude to mathematics that particularly the back row of the maths studies class demonstrated. You can always tell the keen people, they go to the back row. I suppose another memory of our mathematics class is, I don't know if you remember when we did mathfulness first thing in the morning. We sat still, closed our eyes, put our hands on the table and we relaxed and we performed the mathfulness chant. 1 5 is 5, 2 5s are 10, 3 5s are 15. I think that about summed up our math studies class.
You know, our class, we always had fun in biology. So we had 15 kids. Guys like Dean, who I was always trying to make fun of every opportunity, or you know, there was Maria Sole, who's kind of hard to make fun of, but nonetheless very, very fun to have in class with her curiosity and her always asking questions. There's like Alexander Scaini. Now I don't know if he remembers this, but when he broke he had some injury.
No grabbing his ganja hat. Oh!
And I actually went with him to the hospital, and we went there together, and we waited there for his mom to arrive. And so, you know, there's just a weird memory of one of the students, and Leah, who was, you know, even though she wasn't taking biology higher level, and she's probably not going to make biology part of her life going forward, at least in any official way. But she really liked the class, at least she told me she did, and she always felt like she learned a lot. When a student gets something, it's so satisfying, isn't it? You know, as a student. And the thing is, teachers know it as well, because, you know, that's what our goal is. It's like, yes, you know, now you've got it. We succeeded. In the spring of grade 10, and you make the course choices, right? And you're going to take chemistry or biology or physics and your other courses as well. And Benjamin had been in my class in grade 10. And so I knew him as a student and as a biology student. And he came and he said, well, I want to take biology standard level. And I said, well, okay, but I think you should take biology higher level. I think you can do it. And so he went away from the desk, and then he came back a little bit later, 5 or 10 minutes later. Maybe he talked to his mom in the meantime. I don't remember. And he said, okay, mister, I want to take biology higher level. And I said, really? That's great. Why did you change your mind? And he said, because you told me I could do it.
I brought some favourite memories, because you may not remember this, but for the first 6 months, a particular student would walk into my class and there would be graffiti on the board every single lesson. I don't know how much these are coming up. And it was always to do with whatever they were studying. So you will recognise DNA, you will recognise the sentiment when you had tests, and also when we did biochemistry, which everybody loved. So that's one thing that stands out, was all the graffiti, because as a teacher, it just made me feel so, I suppose, so welcome that, you know, some of you, even if it was only a few, were really, really interested in the subject, that you took the time to do that. So that really touched me.
We had that guy from Chicago, like, that came and talked about ideologies and social science. He came and talked, and I asked you guys the next day, like, so what'd you guys think? And you were like, oh, that guy's lame, which is not what I expected. But you guys were like, yeah, we didn't like him. Well, he just thought that he like knew too much and didn't allow you guys to talk, which summarizes the class quite well. Like, a lot of strong personalities that are respectful in the moment, but also like have, you know, clear idea what you guys think. I guess my like hobby horse was kind of like picking on some of the quieter students, which was fun for me. Some of the Yunas and the Bridgets and Federicas. That was always fun to try to like be like, hey, what do you guys think? And they would cower in the corner and try to pretend like they didn't exist so they didn't have to answer the question.
And I think I've learned more about them outside the classroom. So when they're doing their CAS experiences, one that really sticks in my mind is when the students were working at Mater Capelli, working with children who are chronically ill, helping with their parents who have obviously been through a lot of traumatic experiences, and just watching them make these children smile. It's something that will stay with me for a long, long time. I've been lucky enough to watch Homework Club, supervise it, where I've watched many students working with younger students and seen the rapport that they're able to form with these younger students, and also their sense of achievement when helping the students overcome any problems they may have.
Without mentioning any names, there was a certain student who decided to empty her pockets ready to start work and emptied all of her bag and her pockets on the side next to her paints and everything. And that included all sorts of inappropriate things that she shouldn't have with her in school. In fact, that she shouldn't be partaking in at all for her own health. It was just like a classic moment that kind of amusing, because she felt so at home in the art room that she thought she could unpack her bag to the extent that she unpacks things that I then have to confiscate.
The I8s were probably the memories that stood out, where we had so many students doing such cool research in such a small lab, in our lab 2, the converted wine cellar, that I always think that is something quite special. I remember Jose working with the pressure measurements and pulling off a fantastic IA. Actually, the memories that I have most are, the character of the students rather than individual events.
Of course, I have memories. For example, when we went to the Mercato di Sant'Ambrogio with students and we had such a great time. But when I have to think about memories, so something that I will think about in the future is how they perceive the language. For many students, I met them when they are absolute beginners. And for me, the most amazing moment is when they realize the life in the language. So for me, it's incredible when I can compare and contrast the moment when you cannot speak, you cannot say anything, and then the moment when you use complex structures in the language. That's for me, it's my life. That is.
Do you have any last pieces of advice for the seniors?
We're all aimed towards success at ISF, and there's a certain attitude at ISF that we have to be successful, and we don't really ever define that, and that's good because people have different definitions of success. But we tend to have in our mind, when we think of that, something having to do with our professional capacity or our bank account, or the size of the house where we're going to live when we're 30 or 40 or 50 years old. And those, I'm not trying to say that those considerations are not important, but I think it's important for young people as they're maturing and growing up from 17 to 18 to 25 to 30 to also bear in mind other aspects of what it means to be successful. And these aspects are what it means to be a good person. So someone who's generous, someone who's caring, someone who cares about his community and his environment. Of course, you need to focus on your own future in terms of what kind of university you're going to go to, what kind of job you're going to get. All those aspects are important. But I think you should also bear, not in the back of your mind, in the front of your mind, your willingness and your eagerness to be a good person. Because, when it comes down to it, look at me, or, the other teachers at ISF, none of us are wildly successful in the conventional definition of that term. But we're good people, we care about those around us, we want to help out. And, that's something that even you students, you see that. and you respect it. So keep that in mind and try to be that kind of person as well as you're maturing and becoming adults.
You guys have a ton of opportunity, and I think that if people kind of make decisions that will help society, your lives are going to be really enriching. Try to make decisions that are not necessarily looking, at your own bottom line. Your financial situation will be fine. It will come about, and you'll find that financial security. But the real benefit is when you can look at yourself in the mirror and say that, like, I'm making a difference. Identify what you deem to be your weaknesses and try to find ways that you can develop them into your strengths. Ask people for help. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with the people around you. And, try to attack life as a opportunity for personal growth, because the point of life is not inherently clear. So I think that the point of life is to identify some negative patterns that exist within our families and try to be an agent for change and correct those, and to develop personally so that you can make an impact.
First of all, think about the footprints that you're leaving on the planet. Always remember where home is. Be honest, both to yourself and to others. Enjoy yourselves, of course. And in the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail.
I was reminded of the American writer, Ralph Waldo Emerson. In his essay, Self-Reliance, he wrote, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." Whatever there is to learn about the past 4 months, as you do go back out there, I hope you will be yourselves. For me, that would be the message I would hope that we can all follow, and to not be afraid to be ourselves, especially in this world that is, I think, wanting to go back to the way things were, however those things were. And that would be about it, I think.
I just want to say, whatever you do in life, be awesome and have a nice life. And don't forget me. I want to find out what you're up to. Take it a day at a time and take it a week at a time. Don't worry too much about deadlines or what you think other people will expect of you. This is your life, and you have to own it. But whatever you do, be good and be nice and be successful.
Always look for the best not for yourself, but for others as well.
Speak the language, learn the language. And I don't mean Italian, but probably in, 5 years, 10 years, you will be traveling or working somewhere in the world. Do not stop at the bridge language. Don't think that just because you can communicate some way, that's enough. You cannot really reach the heart and the soul of the people you are working with, for example, if you do not speak their language. Ragazzi, solo in bocca al lupo, siete stupendi, vi voglio bene.
Because I am a parent, I have to give you a life lesson. Number one is ignore your parents when they try to advise you about what to study and what to do with your life. Only you know the answer. Look after your sanity, your health, and do what makes you happy. And that's genuinely my classes, especially my DP classes, who can really dig into their artwork and talk about it and really get it and get motivated by finding out more and making art. That even after all these years really brings me a lot of fulfillment and happiness, and that's what you should seek in your lives and your careers and your studies. Don't do something boring. Don't go and be an accountant. I wish you well. I love you all. Well, my art class, obviously I don't know the rest of you, but I probably love you too. And all the best.
Unfortunately, not all things from this school are that heartfelt and sappy. There once was a time where we literally had to fight for our rights. We weren't always free to wear jeans to school, The story of our liberation will definitely be passed down to future classes, and it's quite interesting to look back on. Decades ago, villagers within the small Gattaya district of Florence were once prohibited from expressing themselves freely through their outer attire. Followers of the English Tea Party believed that uniforms ensured the commoners weren't distracted at work, especially by their female peers. No one would compete with who had the best garments, they said, even if the quality of the uniforms was rather low. After decades of throwing their hard-earned money at the uniform suppliers and bowing down to the English Tea Party, a group of vigilantes from different parts of the world banded together for a change. Brazilian generals Gabbeh and Sophia de Godoy were two-thirds of their triplet trio. The girls believed the women in the district should have the ability to wear whatever they want.
As a senior, I realized that it was time for us to finally show our identity and our creativity and also our sense of freedom and space. Since the majority of us were 18-year-olds and we have worn uniforms for our entire life, I think it was time for us to finally rebel.
I was very proud that it was led by the art students, because I think that art students should really be the ones to break rules, tie themselves to railings, and most importantly, dress really weirdly. So in that respect, total success.
English Captain Commander Fred Richardson wanted to eliminate the English Tea Party and represent his country in a better light, as he saw it.
What got me to start this movement is, well, first of all, we wanted to wear what we wanted at school. And we asked certain teachers and certain people in higher positions, how can we go about this? And they said that there's a path that we have to follow. And we tried to follow that path a few times, but people stopped paying attention to us. They said this couldn't be done. So one day I decided that, if we can't do this the nice way, then we should start a protest and maybe people will listen to us.
Benjamin Grimm, a Swedish propagandist, had previous experience with the communist regime some time ago, so his talent in rallying up the masses played a pivotal role in the Battle of Gattaya.
Fred approached me early on. First it was just general support, but then later on he thought it would be nice if we could spread awareness to a larger audience through posters and stuff. So then I kind of became the minister of propaganda for the movement.
How did people react to the posters? Did they improve or worsen the public opinion of the movement?
To the students, it really made it seem like a fun movement to be a part of. It was a little less successful towards the administration, I think, because I remember our old college counselor just furiously ripping down the posters. He didn't seem very happy about them.
The four immediately sprung into action. Grimm took control of the district's library and pushed out spam posters by the ton. They were everywhere: the pergola, classrooms, hallways, even your favorite restroom stall. The class immediately started to take notice and came through to show their support. Spam was tattooed all over fingers in black ink, and forms were starting to go out to vote over the future of the uniforms.
The movement was way stronger than I thought it would be. I thought it was just going to be a fluke, we try this and we get in trouble, people give up easily. But with people's help, we managed to make it grow quite fast, and it persisted. And the teachers who agreed with our cause let it slide and let us do it. And faculty, the kids, everyone was on board. Everyone was on board.
Teachers talk about it, and some were really against it, and others were very much in favor of it, like me. I made no secret of the fact that I think no one in the school should wear uniforms. I included a mini lesson about it. I asked the kids to look over a survey that was provided to draw some conclusions based on that data and what possible recommendations they could make to the school. And I forwarded that to Mr. Murray. I was very proud of the fact that you guys didn't give up, because when, and even in university, I studied, negotiation, and later as a professional, I took mediation training. When you have two parties and when one party is the stronger party or has the more power, whatever you want to call it, a very common strategy is to delay negotiations, to draw them out, to make the other party wary or make them impatient so they say or do something that's wrong, or they make erratic decisions, or to simply give up. They sort of count on people just throwing up their hands and say, forget it, I don't have time for this. You guys stayed the course. and you persisted and you had the grit and the determination to see it through. So as far as I'm concerned, it was a tremendous success, and it speaks volumes about your class and the character of your class and how you guys just soldier on in spite of everything and get things done because you think it's right. So I'm very proud of you guys for that.
After the break during the summer of 2019, the English Tea Party appointed Andrew Watson to be the next leader of the party. The de Godoy sisters initiated their counterattack in fall of 2019 and eventually managed to secure a couple meetings with the party's leader.
Watson and Murray gave me hope because they, since the beginning, since the start, when they saw that it was an actual serious matter to us, they gave me hope since they agreed that it was a good idea.
What were your meetings with Mr. Watson like?
No, they're amazing. They're beautiful. Every morning, 7:30, I would go to his office, sometimes with pastries, sometimes no pastries. And in the beginning, it was more just to get to know us. The questions were a bit arbitrary. They were just, banter, good old banter. And then towards the end, it was more like reviewing the rationale about the uniform and the rules and the expectations and everything. But they were more like almost like a therapy session. Like, even though it wasn't that personal, it was always about why we're doing it, what the movement represents to ISF. It was very abstract. It was nothing very concrete. But it was fun, I guess.
Meanwhile, Captain Commander Richardson protested tirelessly against the uniform and refused to be seen wearing one in the district, and at times he suffered gravely.
The teachers, they sent me an email saying, Fred hasn't been wearing a uniform at school. And I thought that this email was as worthy as spam. So it's just useless, belongs in the spam folder. And then, so those were the letters. And then from those letters, we managed to create, an acronym, school policies or memes. I'm not sure if I came up with that or if Leah came up with that.
Their months of hard work paid off, and eventually, people residing in the district were free to wear whatever they wanted to work after the winter break. While the victory only applied to those who were in the IB division of the district, the battle will always remind everyone involved the power of cooperation, determination, and a couple of posters watching you pee.
It started off as spam, and it stopped being spam, right? After a while, after we just started wearing normal clothes every day. And people stopped calling it spam. But truly, it all started with spam. That's what it was all along. And the rule has changed now. It's official, So absolutely, it's a victory, 100% all the way.
It's sort of, in fact, entirely new way to approach things at our particular school. The idea that students are going to make change. But obviously it was successful in the long run because now you don't have to wear a uniform in grade 12.
Since we'll be graduating, it's up to other students to take the war a step further if they feel that they also want that choice in lower grades.
I love that they call it a war. I think 12th graders, we really did show that the idea of not wearing uniform was never to be was never to brag about brands or to wear inappropriate things. It was really just to show our identity, and even comfort wise. So I wish juniors could also have the possibility to not wear the uniform, because my idea was just to get everyone, honestly, to express themselves. I didn't want it to be just a senior thing, so I just wanted to be like a whole colorful ISF with everyone's identity showing off and just everyone happy.
And there it is, y'all. Class of 2020's most memorable moments, all condensed and super coiled into a visible, decent presentation. Hundreds of hours spent studying, crying, partying, crying, testing, and crying have led up to this one moment where we all take that diploma with one hand and somehow interact legally with Mr. Cook. Do remember that this is possibly the last time we'll all physically be in the same space again. But don't ever forget that our individual paths will only grow longer and continue to fill with opportunities. We could meet again as adults someday in passing, and when we do, acknowledge each other from a distance for old time's sake. And when a bystander looks at you funny for winking or waving elbows, let them. It's just a 2020 thing.